For the average Canadian and most of our communities, there won't be any change.
For the first time in Canadian history, a Prime Minister has invoked the Emergencies Act, a powerful piece of legislation meant to address national crises. But what does that mean for ordinary Canadians, and what limits on its powers exist?
The War Measures Act was fairly sweeping in nature. It allowed the government to institute any kind of regulation or order it felt like was necessary to preserve the security and well-being of Canada. There's very little parliamentary oversight over the declaration of an emergency or the nature of the orders invoked.
Unlike the War Measures Act, the Emergencies Act still requires measures to be subject to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and Canadian Bill of Rights. The order in council used to invoke the act says continuing blockades are happening in conjunction with activities directed to or supporting threats or use of violence to further political or ideological goals. The government says that makes it a public order emergency. This use of the act bars public assembly other than lawful protest. It can also require people with the ability to remove or tow vehicles or structures used in blockades.
Most provinces have their emergency legislation. They have an ability to require people to provide a service. Ontario is the one province that actually literally says authorize, but not requiring.
Money used to support the blockades can also be frozen, while payment processors like banks need to report transactions to FinTrack, Canada's money laundering and anti-terrorist financing agency. Notably, while the PM said the Act's use would be targeted, there are no geographic limitations outlined.
And it may be because they do want the protesters that they're targeting to recognize that this will follow them, right? That if they simply move city or block the highways further down from the border or something, that's not going to make a difference.
What the order doesn't do, it doesn't give politicians control of police and doesn't call in the army. Ottawa Police remain the agency of jurisdiction for the Ottawa occupation, but RCMP can now begin enforcing municipal and provincial law.
It may be that the RCMP are used to take on other municipal policing duties in Ottawa so that the Ottawa Police can deal directly with the protest.
Once invoked, the Emergencies Act requires a public inquiry within 60 days after the crisis has ended and the resulting report be tabled in Parliament within a year. In Ottawa, Shaoli Lee, City News.